Hello, I'm Eileen Higgins, the Executive Director of the Monmouth County Division of Workforce Development, and I welcome you to today's Career Connect. The Monmouth County Division of Workforce Development is a county agency who works closely with the Board of Chosen Freeholders and the Workforce Investment Board, and all of the partners that are involved with the Workforce Investment Board. We have a multitude of services, and the first question would be, who can use those services? Our services are open to everyone, whether you're currently unemployed, underemployed, or have employment, but are looking to upgrade your skills, upgrade your connections with a new job. Our mission is we connect job seekers to the right employers and employers to the right candidates. And we can do this in 3 ways. The first is we provide core services which are open to all job seekers. Here we provide one-on-one counseling with our career counselors. We can review your resume to make sure that you have a powerful resume that will get you noticed when you're working with an employer. And we provide assessments which help identify your skills and your interests. If you have basic skills that you need to improve, whether that's math, reading, or computer skills, we have a lab that you can come in and work with our certified teachers and work on those skills. Our second way that we can help you is through intensive services, and these are available to people who are deemed eligible. And we determine that eligibility in our office. But those intensive services include sending you to a training program, which we have hundreds of courses that you can choose from, a tuition waiver if you need to finish your college degree, and incentives that we can pay an employer for parts of your salary to help make you a viable candidate for that employer. The third way we can help you is with job search support. We do this through email blasts for openings and hiring events that we have in our office or out in the community. We have open houses in our office where you can walk in and have an interview, and you can work one-on-one with an employer, which in this job market is not always easy to do. And we also have an in-house recruiter who will work with you to help connect you with jobs. The job search support also includes the job search workshops that we conduct. We do resume writing, interview skills, where we can have you even practice in front of on tape, and you can watch how you're doing with your interviewing. And we do job search techniques. We have Career Connect workshops where guest speakers will come in and speak on a variety of topics and share their expertise with job seekers as they're looking for a job. Today, our guest is Vicki Gaddy. Vicki is the Vice President of Talent Services for BioNJ, one of New Jersey's talent networks. Vicki will share with her expertise on a critical job skill search networking. Vicki?
Thank you, Eileen. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. So today we're going to address the topic of networking and how you can capitalize on this really wonderful skill to improve your job search and, frankly, to help you manage your career. We're going to look at this from the perspective of really igniting your job search. So we know that a lot of people struggle in the world of job search. It's not a lot of fun. It's something that people often are a little bit timid about getting into. But I can tell you, you can take some of the tips we're going to talk about today, and you'll learn that these are actually life tips. When you're managing your career, you're actually running a business. You're managing, you're the CEO of this business of You Incorporated, and you have an opportunity to create the path that you want to take in the direction your career goes. To start off, what I want to focus on is talking about a strategy. Many people approach a job search with no strategy and kind of wing it, looking at job postings, applying online, maybe spending an enormous amount of time actually doing that type of activity. I can tell you right now, if you're spending most of your time behind the computer applying to jobs online, you're probably doing it wrong, and there are much better ways for you to improve your odds and your chances of getting visibility. And that's really the name of the game today, is how do I increase my visibility, because you're competing with large numbers of other people that are out in the market, and how do you really get the attention of an employer with whom you might want to work. So create a strategy. You want to think about what are some of the components of that strategy, potentially full-time work, part-time work, maybe doing some temporary project opportunities, possibly if you're interested in teaching, that might be, or mentoring, that might be another angle for you to consider. And how do you go about finding opportunities in all of those areas? We're going to talk about that now. So what I want you to do is just start to think about what are some of the objectives that I have, and what are some of the interests I have in terms of my own skill set, my own education and credentials. And also, what are the employers buying today? Because if what I want to do is not something that's in demand, then I probably want to reset my course. So think about your strategy, think about the different pieces of the pie that might apply for you individually in those strategy components, and then develop a plan of action to make sure you can accomplish and reach each of those strategies. When we talk about networking, one of the things I'd really like to encourage you to keep in mind is that a lot of people will tell you it's really all in the numbers. It's a numbers game. How many people do you know? The more people you know is going to improve your chances. I actually take a slightly different perspective to that. I think networking and successful networking is so much more about who knows you. So if you stop and think about that, when you get a great amount of visibility out there in the market, regardless of what it is you actually do for a living, that visibility is going to pay off in spades based on the people who know you. But you have to invest the time to allow people to get to know you. And that's the game changer. That's a definite game changer. So some of the things I want to talk to you about are ways that you can get that visibility. Some of those ways could include a couple of things I talked about a moment ago. Might be temporary employment. Now, I work with a lot of people who start their job search and they tell me they're in the market for a full-time job, which is a great objective. But they, for whatever reason, they decide that they don't want to consider temporary opportunities. I just read a statistic that indicated between 30 to 40% of the job placements out there in the market are actually temporary hires. So if you think about that, if you decide that you don't want to be in the temporary market at all, or you want to ignore that part of the world of opportunities out there, you're going to cut yourself out of 30 to 40% of the possible job opportunities. That's huge. So you've now just shrunk the market of possibilities for yourself. So I want to encourage you to think about using temporary project work, advisory roles, that can be another angle for you to look at, and use those as ways to get that visibility so more people begin to know about you. Again, it's about who knows you. Let me play this out for you. Let's talk about an individual who goes into a company and is really aiming for, let's say, a management role, management job. But there are no management jobs available at the moment, or maybe they're just not in the queue to be considered for one of those opportunities right now. But another position comes up, and maybe they have some administrative experience, so they learn about a temporary opportunity at this very company that they really want to work for. It's an administrative temporary position. Well, I would encourage, in a lot of cases, that the person consider taking that job, because guess what happens? When you get the chance to get into the company and give people an opportunity to see who you are and see what you're made of, you're getting the chance to really showcase who you are. And until people get that chance to see you, and they can see what you're made of, your work ethics, your knowledge, how you respond and react to other people, whether it's an environment of teamwork or independent working, or maybe in most cases a combination of both, people get to see you showcase who you are. And that is going to expand your opportunities for people to think about you and recommend you, and maybe even refer you for possible job opportunities down the road. I will also say that the only way I know to be an insider in a company that I'm really interested in getting into is, frankly, to be an insider. So by taking a temporary job, that exposes you to a whole world of possibilities inside an organization that might be of great interest to you. When you do that, once you're an insider, you get to network with people you may not have otherwise had access to. You get the opportunity to hear and learn about some of the changes and growth inside of a company that might present possibilities for you down the road as well. So my encouragement as I coach people is to really get them to think about the value of those temporary opportunities, those project jobs that might come their way, and not to discount them. We hear story after story after story about people who actually get into a temporary opportunity, and once the company sees them, guess what happens? They fall in love with them. They fall in love and they're thrilled that the person is there, or they get nervous when they learn that temporary stint is about to end and the company says, wait a minute, we need to keep John. He's fantastic. We can't let him go. We have to create a job for him. And we hear those stories week after week. So my encouragement is to make temporary staffing, project work, and I mentioned advisory roles before. Advisory roles are another fantastic way to get some visibility for yourself and give yourself the opportunity to network with people in a whole new and meaningful way. Sometimes an advisory role could mean doing some providing advice and consulting guidance, if you will, to an emerging business. Maybe there's a startup company that could really benefit from your expertise. I know people who are finance and accounting folks, administrative individuals, all the way up to people who are work in the sciences and have multiple letters after their names because of all the credentials and degrees they have. In any of those cases, there are businesses that are just getting started, just starting to get their wings, that might benefit from the knowledge that you have, that you bring to the table, that they may not have an expertise in. And so taking an advisory role, which could mean, by the way, maybe a simple 1-hour conversation, just providing advice and guidance and perspective to a business owner. Or it could be something longer with maybe a consulting role attached to it. But again, those are fantastic opportunities to give yourself that visibility and opportunities to network in unique ways. And think about it, when you're doing work like temporary work, projects, when you're doing short-term projects, or you're doing working as an advisor to a small business, that should be on your resume. That's something front and center that you're doing right now. So that the game also changes there, because now you no longer have to say when someone asks you, so Mary, what are you doing now? You don't have to say, I'm looking for a job. I'm focused full-time on a job search. That's what I'm doing, and that's all great. But what you want to be able to say in a much more meaningful way is, oh, well, I'm conducting a job search, but in the meantime, I'm working on a project at this company, and I'm an advisor to this other business, and I'm providing guidance and advice, and it keeps you in action. And ultimately, the word action really needs to be a very strong part of your search strategy. And that's why I said before, if you find yourself just sitting behind a computer, applying for jobs constantly and looking on the web constantly and making that really your total focus, you're going to be behind the 8 ball, because you're not going to have the kind of visibility that's really required in the market. And that is a big game changer for the market today. I also want to suggest that as you're going about your business trying to assess networking opportunities, of which there are many, many, many networking opportunities. Let me give you a couple of thoughts on that. We just talked about probably the most valuable, which is staying in action. But second to that, I would say looking at professional organizations for networking opportunities that might be related to either the industry and or the functional area in which you work. That's really important. And I always suggest you consider 1 or 2 professional organizations that might make sense for you to invest your time by going to meetings, going to events, making sure you meet new people and expose yourself to new ideas and new possibilities. The other thing I would say is look at, besides professional organizations, is looking at some of the business entities that exist around your local area. It could be Chamber of Commerce. It could be some other kind of business and industry association or organization, but something that might give you a broad breadth of possible people to network with. So you might find in a Chamber of Commerce, for example, that they have all types of businesses. They have businesses all across the spectrum. And that would be important for you to get visibility with a wider variety of people. But then in other cases, you want to look for something that's very focused. Again, I mentioned industry, professional trade organizations. So I spend a lot of my time in the life sciences area. So in life sciences, I work for BioNJ, which is a trade organization and gives people an opportunity to really focus and narrow in on networking opportunities within that industry locally. So that's important if you're looking to stay in a particular industry or really heavily focused on an industry. So mix it up a little bit. One or two that are vertically focused in industry or functional areas, and one or two that are very broad and would give you access and visibility with a wider audience of people. And then find ways to participate. Don't just, going to the meetings is great. That's wonderful, but that's not the only thing you can do. You can get on a committee. You can volunteer for one event. It doesn't have to be a lifetime commitment. You can be a speaker. A lot of times I find people discount the knowledge that they have, but everyone's got experience and likely some kind of expertise that you might be bringing to the table. So you want to use that as a way to, as an opportunity to share with other people your experience and your perspective on whatever functional area you've spent your career in. So I think that's important. Volunteering in general is a really, really important strategy. Volunteering gives you the opportunity to really, again, showcase some of your skills and strengths, and it also gives you the opportunity to work in an area that might be very near and dear to your heart, which there's nothing better than having the opportunity to do something that really has meaning for you personally. And in those cases, we find that a lot of our genuine personality and strengths really comes out. But there again, you're giving other people a wonderful opportunity by volunteering to get to see who you are and see what you're capable of. And sometimes, even if you're volunteering in for an organization that may not be exactly the kind of organization you would work for in a job environment, you still have the opportunity to meet with so many different people by doing that work. So it's very, very important, and another really key strategy, to have in your toolbox. All of these methods that I'm talking about speak to something that I think, again, I find a lot of people are not thinking this way. We tend to believe that we have to get our resume out. We have to get our resume 100% right. And we have to get it out there and shoot it out. It's a game of numbers. We have to just send it out to as many places as we possibly can. And I don't actually subscribe to that thinking. I think the more productive way to run your search strategy for your career is to get out in front of your resume. Let the resume ideally be something that's just a formal follow-up at some point after they've already fallen in love with you. So again, just to paint a scenario, so you have an opportunity to take a temp job, work on a project at a company for a short amount of time, or volunteer, run a volunteer program for some nonprofit organization. Picture this. You get to do that. People get to know you, that you're networking with, that you're meeting, that you're working with on these projects as well. And then conversations come about. You learn of new possibilities for jobs, or someone says, hey, I know a company who could benefit from exactly the kind of experience that you have. Let me make an introduction. And you make that personal introduction, and then at some point, you'll be asked for your resume. And so the resume becomes really just a formal follow-up. But it's you that's selling, that's really doing the selling. It's your personality. It's your credibility out there. It's what you showcase your capabilities are. That, for me, is a much more effective way to manage a job search. And if you can do that, I think you're going to find a whole world of possibilities may exist that you may not have been aware of otherwise. We talk about sometimes this hidden job market. I bet many people have heard of that, right? The hidden job market, it exists. It exists. And all of the strategies that I'm referring to today are actually very often a result of the hidden job market. So again, you may meet people through activities and by staying in action that will suddenly recognize your capabilities, will come to think that, gee, you might be a great fit for this company I work with or this company I know of. I'd like to introduce you to the CEO. And you start to have conversation. And even though there may not officially be a headcount or an approved position, or maybe there is and they're just not advertising for it, which is also frequently the case, because we do know that companies are not advertising every single job that they have. So you get to know about these things. You get to have an introduction way before you have to go online to apply for a job. That's a really terrific way to manage your job search, and an opportunity that may come about more often than you might think. So the other thing I want to mention is using social media. So we have lots of tools at our fingertips today that, frankly, we didn't have all that long ago. Social media being one of them. We know that tools like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter can all be very, very valuable. I think you have to think good and hard about which of those tools might be best for you to use, and maybe in some cases you'll use some more than others. In my case, I tend to use LinkedIn very heavily. I use LinkedIn a lot. I use it not only to showcase my capabilities and be out there to meet people and connect, but I also use it as a way to search. So I will search for people who have a particular functional discipline. I may search for people who might be at a particular company I'm interested in. So it varies. It's a great tool to use, but it's also a tool that gives you an opportunity to brand yourself and begin to let your branding be known to the rest of the world. And yes, it means you're out there all the time, and for some people that may not be comfortable, but I can tell you when you start to weave the LinkedIn tools and technology into the rest of your search strategy, you will find natural ways to really maximize the chance to really put out there who you are. And let's face it, it's a technology that's easy to change. You can update it. You should be making changes occasionally so that you keep things fresh. Add some of your volunteer activity, your project work, or your mentoring activities. Any of that is really, really important. But I would encourage you to use LinkedIn and use it actively and proactively. Reach out to people who might be of interest to you, who may be working at companies that might be of interest, or who might be in professional organizations that could be interesting for you as well. And remember, this whole world of job search is a whole lot about giving, paying it forward. We talk about that a lot as well. So you want to be out there proactively offering advice, ideas, articles, guidance, job leads, whatever it might be. You can do that through LinkedIn. You could do that through Facebook. You certainly can do it through Twitter. But you really want to make sure that you keep that tool very fresh and clean. I also will say make sure you have a photo there. If you don't have a photo, I believe the statistic is that your profile has the chances of being looked at 7 times less likely than those people who do have a photo on LinkedIn. So you really want to make sure you have a nice, clean, sharp photo there. And then, as I said, use it as a very proactive tool to make those connections and offer advice and ideas to other people. So to wrap up, I want to just I want to go back to the point we talked about at the beginning, which is how do you ignite your job search? What you do to start off with, my advice is create a plan. Give yourself a plan so you can have some steps and start to acknowledge and actually write down where you're going to connect with people, who you're going to connect with, who some of the folks are you might connect with, where some of the job opportunities might be, whether they're full-time opportunities, short-term, long-term, or some combination of both. look to really get yourself out there and give yourself the chance for people to get to know you. It is an investment of time, I will say that. It's clearly, if you're sitting back in your search, again, behind your computer, with your hands like this, waiting for the jobs to come to you, it's probably not going to happen. You're going to have much more success by stepping into it. And you really do have to step into it. It's just like anything else in life. You want to be in control. You are the CEO. You're the person who's running this career, who's running this business of your career. So make it your business to get out there. Make sure you're very, very proactive and you're selective in the organizations that you join, and the organizations you spend time with, and with the people that you're offering help to. So with that, I am going to close, and I'd like to say thank you very much to everybody, and I appreciate your attention and look forward to working with you in your own job search activity.
Vicki, thank you very much for that really terrific presentation on networking skills. It's something that anyone can use, whether they're searching for a job, or it applies to even if you have a job. As Vicki mentioned, networking is a skill that anyone can develop, and it is a skill for life. Before we conclude, I also want to remind you that Monmouth County Division of Workforce Development offers Career Connect workshops just like the one you just saw, and we hold these in our Eatontown office on a weekly basis. We have a wide range of services for all job seekers, and you can use the skills that Vicki just spoke about with networking and coming into our office. You can sit with fellow job seekers, employers are regularly in the office, and you can have your resume reviewed. It's a great way to use the skills that we're sharing with you in the Career Connect workshops, is to come in and spend some time in the office, use the computers that we have, and the fax machines. As Vicki mentioned, networking is truly a skill for life, and we've found that job seekers really do so much better when they network. It can help you share the value that you have, the skills that you have, and make you valuable for an employer when they can see all of the people you're connected with and all the tools that are out there that you can use. As Vicki mentioned, the LinkedIn is a workshop that in and of itself that we conduct in our office. And LinkedIn is one of the newer technologies that really job seekers need to be aware of. It's not something I'm even comfortable with, and I regularly attend the workshops because I'm not entirely sure what to do with it once my profile is out there. So please come join us at our Career Connect workshops on Wednesdays. Thank you.